Embark on your journey, the path you must take. Though hate may surround you, it's not your fate to forsake. Co-creating your destiny in the dance of time. The guiding light within you ignites the sublime. It is the light, the guiding light from the heart and soul. Don't lose control. Let it be the light shining bright, unlocking potential beyond belief, taking flight. In the depths of your being, the truth resides. Embrace your power, let your spirit rise. With every step forward, you transcend the expanded conscious community we commend. Through trials and triumphs, your soul evolves in the symphony of life, where every note resolves. Listen to the whispers of your inner voice. In unity and love, let your heart rejoice. It is the light, the guiding light from the heart and soul. Don't lose control. Let it be the light shining bright, unlocking potential beyond belief, taking flight. It is the light, the guiding light from the heart and soul. Don't lose control. Let it be the light shining bright, unlocking potential beyond belief, taking flight. As we gather together in this sacred space, embracing transformation with grace. Life coach Malachi leads the way in unlocking potential day by day. Embracing transformation with grace. Life coach Malachi leads the way, unlocking potential day by day.
Hey, it's good to have you here. Good to have you here, all the family. I appreciate you for being here and for tapping in and tuning in. Put my headphones so I can hear myself. You guys are amazing. I appreciate you for just being here. This is, sometimes it's a grind, to be honest. Like, I know there's things that I can do to improve. But it could be a grind. I go on Insight Timer, and it's just people waiting and ready and open and willing to really receive this. And Facebook and YouTube, it's kind of like you've got to push it, and it'll push it, but you get a lot of attention there, from so many different sources. And so, but it is what it is. We live, we learn, we grow. I appreciate all of you. I appreciate this platform. It's wonderful to have that platform, reaching other people that are ready, open, willing, and at any given time, you can fire up and get on there, and 100 people be waiting, so that all the effort and time. But I'll tell you this, regardless, for those who are here, let them hear, and for those who are a part of this, all the people will. I know Mother Gwen and Miss Lindy and Phyllis, JT, my brother Garrickson, um, Miss Dolores. Yeah, of course we have D and T and different ones that are all out there. And regardless, you may watch it in preview. Into replay. But here we are. I appreciate you for being here and for connecting with me on this Thursday, February 19th, 2026. Man, it's kind of weird to even think about the time and era we live in. No matter what age you are, it's still kind of unique. It's pretty amazing when you think about 2026. What would life be like? I was reading something not too long ago, and they were talking about life in 1897 or something like that. And there was a guy that wrote something with life in 2000, and he basically was speaking and talking about credit cards. And how would it feel just to think about what life would be like with credit cards? Brother Donald Clapp, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Oh, my goodness. Everybody all rise. Please stand. Apostle Donald Clapp has entered. Y'all remember that? I don't know if any of y'all's churches. I'll tell you one thing. In the Church of God in Christ, when pastors, certain people would come in at times, I get it, they would give if a bishop came in, sometime they would be like, oh, everybody stand up. Everybody stand up and give bishop his credit or his honor. You know what I mean? He's in the building. They would have adjutants and people taking his coat. Yeah, they were a little different. We'll just say things were different, I think things seemed easier because of the fact maybe they were easier earlier in time, but I think a lot of it too, we have a lot of open privileges. It's, how they say ignorance is bliss. Ignorance can be blissful, but at the same time, what's wrong with expanding? There's, expansion and expanding in our lives. That's what we do, right? This is the time that we are expanding. And what do they say about expansion? Right? When you doing something that takes work, there's growing pains. We might be experiencing some level of growing pains. My son is getting really tired. And at times he just doesn't, he said, I fell asleep. I sit down on the toilet after shower and I really felt like, I don't know what happened. I fell asleep. And he got next to me this morning as I'm standing there. And you got to imagine, I'm about 6'4", 230. And his nose was above mine. Like his nose was here. I was like, Jesus, like you go to sleep and you wake up and you grow. You don't grow when you are awake. You grow when you are asleep. The pineal gland, all the glands and things that are working to push that body, to push it, happens when other parts of your body has gone dormant, right? So it could put effort into, right, what it needs to put in order for the body to grow. And when the body grows, it is stretching. He's probably pushing 6'5", 6'6", right? My oldest daughter said he was like, I told him he's gonna be 6'7". I'll tell you, he's eating like that, and I'm gonna have this retreat, and I'm gonna have to do a whole lot more because I'm here in this household taking care of needy kids. I just need to provide y'all with some good resources. I'm gonna get on with this because I think it's vital and I think it's very important. Recently, I'm not sure if you know this, hang in there. Wherever you are tuning in from, I would like for you, so other people can see it. Facebook and YouTube Live is where we are. If you are, wherever you are pushing in, oh, Shara, there you go. Okay, I was wondering, you got this new title. I thought I thought she had left me. She didn't like me no more. No, I'm teasing. Wherever you coming from, push it out there. We're going to get right into this. I have guests that are playing, just so you know, there are guests that are coming on. A lot that we deal with here on expanded consciousness. Of course, I picked this up after I worked and done stuff with Bishop Carlton Pearson, talking about these things, and I'm still pushing it. But pretty much all of us in that group came from understanding we want to expand our consciousness, and consciousness is expanding. In the quantum realm, consciousness has already expanding. Who you desire to be has already happened, is already done. You just have to walk and you have to begin to move into that vibration and that frequency of who you are. As on this planet, we say, and in this space, we say in the future, but in spirit, it is already done for your life. It is already taking place in your life. Now, the things that we have to do is we have to revisit, understand who we thought we were. We have to look at this programming. Right now, they are running programs. They're doing everything possible.
Where was God and Jesus at during all?
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. My phone just started talking in my ear. But what we have to do is realize that all we're doing is checking the program, right? We were told this and told that. We operate and function like computers. You know that? Good evening to everyone that's here. But we operate and function like a computer because a computer is what we created. We created a computer to be like the image of who we are. If you look at Federico Fagan, who was the person that invented or created the microprocessor, was doing that in efforts to create consciousness in the computer. He was looking to create AI when he created the microprocessor in the early 70s, I believe. I mean, late 70s. And he's very wealthy now, and he's done a lot. And now he is a spiritualist and working in the field of consciousness, right? And getting into the quantum realm. We'll get there. I love that stuff. But what we want to do is help each one of us break it's not necessarily breaking free from the church, y'all. Deconstructing. I want to really help you out with the way the biology works and the way the human being works. Deconstructing, follow me. Deconstructing is almost like you're running a program on an operating system. You are watching me right now through an operating system that was programmed by programmers, developers, right? Programmers are pretty much what we call developers. And what they do is they create a world in a space that is running in the background. I'm getting involved just a little bit into Donald Hoffman's work, right? You're getting what we call as the graphical user interface, the GUI. You're getting to see the soft reality of what you believe that is going on. I consider this the soft reality. If you actually seen reality for what it was, if you really seen reality for what it was, I don't think you would really care for this reality. It would be it'd be ones and zeros. Blessings. The Archbishop, I mean, I had some greats walking into the Archbishop. John H. Lewis has entered the building. Everybody, please stand up in your homes and give honor to where honors due as they. I'm still a little churchy, y'all, and I don't give a shit. So I can mix it all. You see what I'm saying? I'll mix it all. I'll become and mix all of who I am. We call it interspirituality, interspirituality versus interfaith. I do the interfaith, reverence all the different faiths and what people come from, what people believe. But interspirituality is how we embrace all of who we are, all of the spiritualities that we dip and dive in. You feel me? We keep it moving. What a joy and presence for it is today for brethren to gather together in unity. Listen, do you know we get to dip into what we feel from the aspects of ancient literature like scripture, and we don't have to be so fully offended by just the fact that ancient scripture may have something that we may like, although we can have some of this ancient scripture that we like. I'm cool with that bullshit. I don't want to get down with that. That is silly, right? You know, all this stuff that we have going on in our country, you know, this crazy stuff that's going on in our country. Yeah, it's growing pain. I was talking about growing pains and who we are. And as we grow, we are growing, y'all. Wherever you at right now, just make sure 100%. I don't want to forget this, but make sure you like, subscribe, share. I'll be all evangelical back on you. You know, they used to be like, we got to get the word out, let everybody know that, you know, I may need to drop a little bit of fear-based theology on you. Really, mine is the opposite of fear-based theology. It's more or less like you could be free. You could be free of all the guilt, shame. Who wants to be free of guilt and shame? You know, when I think about Christ consciousness, when you begin to know Yeshua, the essence and the presence of what he was talking about in these scriptures, supposedly, I'll dance with it. If you truly want to understand what that is, what that means, a lot of it has to do with liberation from the system, right? I was talking to you briefly about the computer and what the computer does, right? And the programs and the software and programming. And what happens is when you run programs, sometimes those programs can have issues. Sometimes those programs need updated. That's the reason why if you're running Microsoft right now, Windows 11 is something you need because they're not doing patches for Windows 10, right? If you are running the Mac right now, you most likely need to be running, it's different on the Mac, but they got a thing called Tahoe 26.1, Tahoe 26.2 is out, right? These are software programs that allow us to function on the internet. I'm here to tell you there are operating systems that are inside the human complex. And one of the big things in an operating system, I'll tell you that I have been given this through my extracurricular activities of exploration through consciousness and mysticism and a little bit of what do you call that? There's another word for it, psychedelic medicine, right? But the thing is like each era, follow me, listen to this. This is going to be pivotal for you. When you have Generation X and Generation Z and the baby boomers, and you have the silent generation, all these various things that we kind of bottle up and we call these generations kind of these names. You might be a boomer, but you don't have to stay fully as a boomer. You could still be a boomer that's a boomer 2.0 or a boomer .67. You know, you are a boomer that you can upgrade who you are. right? You might be a boomer, but if you get your ass in the gym and you working out and you trying to eat right, you trying to stay up with technology, you might not be just a plain ordinary boomer. You are a boomer dot, right? In the software game, you might have different versions or you got beta version, but you got different update patches, right? We're going to update who you are, update this patch, update this. And what happens when you update these patches, y'all? What happens when you update it? You can all of a sudden there's holes and gaps in the security, and all of a sudden there's vulnerabilities. Listen, you have vulnerabilities that are within who you are, and you can have patches. You know what the patches are? The patches are when you actually question something that is locked into who you are. It can be locked into your nervous system and locked into your mind. And if you got that locked into there and you not necessarily, how they say, is spiritually fluid, you're able to move and adapt and rearrange, and you get what I'm saying? There's some things within these security patches, right? See, we have a security patch that we have fixed when it comes to actually doing sexual things with a 10-year-old and a 12-year-old. We've come to agreement that those things are something that we don't need to do or should do, right? That's a patch that we fixed, because there's some people that have these vulnerabilities, and there's something going on within the psyche, and that's allowing them to feel like they want to do something or see something sexual about a baby, right? There's a security breach. There's something going wrong with the psyche, right? That we have to, we got to patch it and fix it. So we kind of worked a lot of those things. You find out, somebody in the early 1900s, late 1800s, right? I seen a picture in 1937. It's a picture of a guy, and this is a proven picture that they took, and it's a guy that's taking a picture, right? He's 22, I think, 23 years old. I don't have time to find it. And he has a 9-year-old, and he's reading the Bible. Woo! I'm getting worked up. He's reading the Bible to a 9-year-old little girl. He's reading the Bible to a 9-year-old little girl. And they're making this out like this is what we should do. And that ended up being his wife. This is a normal thing. This was a normal thing. This is the reason why we deconstruct. Talk about church hurt. Slap your ass. Church hurt. That's stupid. That's freaking new. Over here, expanded conscious, you might hear laughing and crying. I let it all out and let it all go. And I be, as much as I can, 100% all of who I am. All of who I am. It's interesting. All through my expanded conscious, like I got a whole bunch of, look at this. I'm organizing some obituaries, right? There's some obituaries through my consciousness journeys. It's really sad when we don't want to fix some of these things. When you think about, of course, the big thing about the Epstein files has a lot to do with kids, but I'm here to tell you there's more things there that'll blow your mind with espionage and just hook and crook and doing whatever you want to do. And just when you get a certain power when it comes to money, man, it could really mess you up, bro. I'm not saying that everyone that has money is the problem. I think it's a certain amount of money that you can get. I probably will never. I can tell you, I probably never be a billionaire. I won't be a billionaire because it takes a certain aptitude. It takes a certain mindset. It takes a certain person that can really get to that point. It would have to fall into my lap, and I would most likely spend it like these other people do whenever they say they want money, because there's too many people that need money, too many situations that's going around that needs money. So, you screwed with me becoming and living the American dream and becoming a billionaire, because I'd give it all that shit away. It's gone. Believe me, it is done. I would cry like a baby, just being like, I would have a TV show just to give money away. The big the TV show with the guy. Oh man, the Boss movie, whatever it is, something about the boss. Boy, I tear up when they be like, "You've been working with us forever, and you done the job." And it's an old black janitor. He's sitting there. He's like, "Yeah, I just do the job, Well, we want your kids to have a car. We want you to go on vacation. We want to pay off your house." I'm like, that's awesome. I want to be the person that's doing it versus the person receiving it, because it just looks like that would feel so good. I would cry my ass off. But y'all, listen, I'm here to tell you. I'm going to make sure these comments are on so I can see them. Make sure you do comment. I'm going to put these comments on the screen. All my people, I want y'all to be out there commenting. I hope YouTube is working and functioning. I don't see comments from YouTube. Yeah, keep them rolling, right? Y'all stay here, stay with me, and y'all communicate with each other, because this is not about me. I'm just a vessel that's been used to express and to bring us together. Because one of the things that I have come to agreement with is deconstructing is about checking the program that was written before we even knew that the program was written. And we're finding out, like the Matrix, that wait a minute. Wait, somebody put that in my mind and told me. And then the nervous system and the body itself can already function by itself and begin to actually add some things. But we've been programmed through the system. We've been programmed through society. So many people can get kind of beside themselves when they hear the word white supremacy. And what it is we almost need a new word, because what it is kind of like the majority, the elite majority idea and ideologies throughout history who have come from these individuals who have classified themselves through what we call race centuries ago, have the elite have always played the systems in our minds, in our heads, and some of this programming and some of these algorithms date back all the way back to Rome and date back to 1611, when the Council of Nicaea that was formulated to develop the Nicene Creed by the true author Constantine, right? Who said, we like the way this is working and these people believe it. But that whole same system was developed also, right? Influenced in a way by the Romans. And if you just follow the story of Jesus, of course, they say Gospel of Mark would be probably the most accurate, if you will, kind of the most fluid story. All these other ones kind of anyways, I don't want to get too deep in theology, but I just want you to know that everyone is talking about deconstructing, and it feels like it's a trend. We're gonna come up out of these right now. I got the Hemp Garage on it. I need to get my Hemp Garage website. This is a CBD wellness product that I developed years ago. Hemp Garage. I'll get that functioning because it really works. I use CBD all the time on my skin or taking it. But everyone has been talking about deconstructing, and it feels like a trend, and I'm okay with it. It can feel like, but it is. For those who are just coming into the space, some that have been here, I have a lot of friends and people that I know that are ex-evangelicals, ex-COGIC and ex-Baptists and right? But you feel it and you see the podcasts that are happening. But let's be honest. I'm here to tell you, sometimes we wanted to run away from deconstructing, but I'm here to tell you that deconstructing it's not a trend. It's just one of the development stages. And whether people admit it or not, I don't care. Everyone is deconstructing right now. Okay? You got to understand, you don't just deconstruct Christianity, you got to deconstruct your beliefs, because what as Bishop Carlton, I need to put this on a shirt. Ask yourself daily, what do you believe? Why do you believe it? And how do those beliefs add to or subtract to the quality of your life? What do I believe today? There's things that I know that I get stuck with, and things that I do in my daily life. And I'm like, I did not accomplish what I wanted today. And it may have something to do with what I believe. Some of these patterns and some of these things that I have done. And I need to keep going and awaken and keep learning and keep growing and keep trusting that I'm going to continue to grow. But everyone is deconstructing right now. And that man that's in the White House, along with his wonderful, beautiful, amazing, accomplished staff. Some of us are doing some of us are consciously doing it. Whatever you were, put that in the chat. Oh, there's Tia. I was about to just get up and drive over to Tia's house. She didn't come get on my live. If you were, ex-Pentecostal, ex-evangelical, make sure you put that in the chat. Whatever you were, right? Where are you coming from, right? It's not where we're coming from, it's where we're going, but sometimes it makes sense to think about where we've been so that we won't repeat it again. But I'm here to tell you, deconstructing is not a trend. It's just a development stage, right? It's an incubator. And whether people admit it or not, that's what's happening. And some are doing it very angrily. A dear guy I'm kind of connecting with, I'm in this deconstructing Christianity group, which I really think is beautiful. And Carl is his name, who is the person that started it from Fort Smith. I think we're going to one day I'll meet him. But I think it's really beautiful, these communities and groups. And, I don't know if you know it, but man, I had some crazy issues with Facebook. But I had this COGIC, Life After COGIC, because I thought about that with Bishop, but I was like, Life After Church, which is different than deconstructing. There's plenty of groups doing that, and you can join those groups. But Life After Church is part of the deconstructing, but Life After Church is like, what's next? Who am I? Because every single one of us is not just deconstructing to go to nothing. You will always arrive somewhere. If you go to not believing, you still arrive somewhere. A lot of people have gone from not having Christianity and some of them moved back into a different version of their faith. A big chunk have moved into not believing in God at all. Not necessarily active atheists, but they just, and that some of them have been hurt by that system. And there is a lot of foolery and some weird stuff and things that you just crazy with that happens in the church. And therefore they can be really angry when they leave. Some quietly at 2 a.m. when they realize that their beliefs that have, shaped their entire identity, that just no longer makes sense in the world that they are living in. A lot of people in the church will call this church hurt, meaning that you may have dealt with someone that has done something wrong in the church, and then they feel like you're calling all the church to bad when it was just those people bad. But it's not necessarily saying that you have religious trauma, something that you can actually go and get diagnosed, and something that you can actually have that would develop what we call as complex PTSD, complex post-traumatic stress syndrome, and you can't function in life. The church is Some people within church structures and institution is not ready for the psychological effects that's happening and has happened to the human condition. Ooh, man. Sometimes whenever you speak, you hear it come out, you just be like, man, I'm speaking. But you getting up at 2:00 in the morning and you questioning and wondering, like, how did I get here? Like, this is not making sense. But then you think about your community. Who am I going to have? Who am I going to have to be with? But the real question is not whether you deconstruct, but the question is whether we do this with intention, or are we just reacting to it? As you've heard me say, and you've probably researched or looked online, there's a fellow that I follow that Ryan, if you look up Ryan Church Research, you will see he does a lot of charts. I love this guy. Following him on LinkedIn, but if you may not understand what this means, but there are 45,000 Christian denominations across the globe. A lot of people be like, why are you always talking about Christians? How come you can't talk about the Muslims? Well, a lot of times what happens is, if you haven't been a Muslim and you're not growing up in a Muslim country, why would you sit back and talk about Muslims? Because that's what you do. You like to talk about the things that you don't know. You like to talk about the things that you just can make up as you go along to make people fear. Yes, we understand and we know that there are things happening in Islamic controlled countries that have been happening for the last 1,000 years. You were involved with Christianity with your crusades. Y'all was fighting and doing a bunch of the other crazy stuff. We just like to act like we better. Like, you've done plenty with Christianity in this country we call America. You have killed millions of people on behalf of that book. Don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. And you still have ways that you use it to manipulate people with your versions out of the 45,000 Christian denominations across the globe. The central figure, the same sacred text, the same core narrative, yet 45,000 interpretations. 45,000 interpretations. That alone should just cause you to be like, slow down, cause you to be like, huh? The fuck? What do you mean? What am I supposed to do with that? But see, they trying to trick you. They trying to trick you, y'all, over here on TikTok. They try to trick you. They try to make you feel, and they try to make you believe that there is one Christianity. And there technically is, in a way. And that's the one that's got the loudest voice, the one that's got the most TV viewers, the one that, because if you get a few million people, right? You get a few million people to agree. This is the reason why the Mormons can get away with all their BS. Coming up on my Snapchat with these 20-year-old girls talk about, hey, would you like to have a relationship with Jesus Christ? You know what you're doing. Why don't you put like a 40-year-old woman, right? No, you put a 20-year-old woman because you're trying to recruit kids, right? So they'd be like, oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah, I'll get Jesus Christ. But then you give them the Book of Mormon. That's how you get to be $250 billion strong in America. So you could put up a TikTok ad so you could keep your marketing system going, bro. That's a whole marketing system. I had some Jehovah's Witnesses come up to my door this week, and I was outside cooking, and my 15-year-old daughter, I seen a text message, and I seen these two black ladies coming up to the door through the camera system. My daughter was like, don't, capital letters, don't answer the door, because I was cooking for her friends. She was like, you will be out there talking. I'm like, bro, I'm not talking to no, I am not talking to no Jehovah's Witness right now. That is not in the playbook. It would not turn out well, because I would be asking them questions. You know what I mean? Anyway, I'd be asking them questions like, it's amazing how we run these programs because of the fact that the system tells us to run the programs, and then they use fear, they use guilt, they use shame, and they use the abandonment of the community. The biggest key, everybody say the biggest key, the biggest key, the biggest key, the biggest key, the biggest key. God dang it, the biggest key is I have to hit you with community, because there's unity as we come together. And if we can come together and we can unite in this one text, this one context, I can keep you locked in forever, because you don't want to lose your friends. You don't want to lose the people, and them people to feel like you have left them. But that 45,000 people, that should just denominations, that should shut us down. You hear me? It should shut us down. We should be like already questioning who's right, who's the right one, who's got the right word. Because if the truth were as simple as and fixed, if it was just so simple and it was fixed, many of us were told, it wouldn't have this much fragmentations. It wouldn't look like this. You're trying to tell me that Charlie Kirk was, what kind of Christian was he? I will give, listen, y'all, I will give you the benefit of the doubt. I will tell you that Charlie Kirk, if there's 45,000 denominations and there's 2.5 billion people that's saying they are Christians, I will give you that Charlie Kirk was a Christian in his category. Yes. In his category, in his understanding, in his group, amongst his people, he had millions and millions and millions and millions of followers, right? He has millions in this community. If he wants to call himself Batman and everybody inside that group calls him Batman, he gets to be Batman in that damn community. Let that dude be Batman. He gets to be a Christian and he gets to be a martyr to those people. You can't stop that. You just got to be like, okay, go on with your show. Because you're just putting on a show and you're just fooling all these people, trying to fool more people. We understand that this wouldn't be what it is, because what we're actually seeing is an interpretation by culture, by power, and by politics, and by economics. And don't forget race and the geography of where you are, the East versus the West, the South versus the North. And all that creates one thing, and that is called trauma. So I'm playing on your trauma, bringing more trauma. See, Christianity did not develop in a vacuum. The man, Apostle Paul, who is the person that most of these people follow his gospel or his understanding, who never met Jesus. But I still think if he came back today, he would be like, man, I was talking to these people in these different places here. Y'all got crazy stuff, AI, artificial intelligence, and cars. And I was not talking to you I was not talking to you 2000, plus years in the future. I just wasn't. How am I going to leave a message today for 2,000 years from now? Yeah, right. Give it to me. Christianity wasn't created in a vacuum. All it really did, it just merged with what we call empire. It merged with empire, and it's still merging with empires. And now what they want to do, and it already has, but now they're just trying to bring out, it's merging what we call nationalism, which is an empire, which has more to do with like, um, um, it's not just God, but it's country, and country meaning the country has to follow this religious practice. And essentially, when you really go back to what the forefathers, there were some of this, but really it wasn't this. This is something that has been birthed as evangelicalism and out of capitalism. Yes. It all has to do with hierarchy. It has to do with fear. It's very powerful. Elon Musk talking about putting a message, short sentence about Jesus is so powerful by you just using those words deeply programmed to us. You can have the most crooked, the most heinous, the most worst person on the face of the earth. Jeffrey Dahmer made a career of killing, pretty much sleeping with black men was as one big one, but sleeping with men and killing them and then eating them. He made a living or a career or whatever the hell you want to call it, right? He built his whole resume on that, went to prison, said, I asked Jesus to my heart, and all these people were like, oh, wow, that's so wonderful. See, when belief merges with power, it stops being something like theology or the philosophy of God. It starts becoming this identity, and this identity then begins to create a certain reality that all of us will have to face. That's the reason why you had things like essentially slavery was built on it, built on scripture. It's all throughout it. It's all throughout it. It's built on it. And then whatever else they want to include and add to it. And it has become an identity, right? And that identity is wanted to be protected. That's the reason why Christian nationalism can feel so intense right now. And I'm talking about this right now because it needs to be talked about, because it has a lot to do with it has a lot to do with who you are, and it has to do with your deconstructing journey and what you believe, why you believe it, and why you want to shift, and why you want to find community right now. Because this ain't about faith. This is all about 100% about dominance. And as you dominate and as you put things out, do you not know that whenever I put something out, you don't know that you can actually see the tension of the world. You could see the anxiety of the world. You could see that some of this stuff with the system breaking, the accelerationism by that Peter Thiel really likes. I mean, they like accelerating. They like for things to get to the point where they break. They want Donald Trump to go in there and break this sucker. That's what they do. They want him to break it. They want us to be marching. They want us to go crazy. It's part of the plan. It's part of the system. But that's the reason why it can feel so intense, because it's not about faith. It's about dominance. It's about your anxiety coming and being out of control. It's not about expanding your consciousness and letting you know that you need to learn how to meditate and go into a deep level of meditation. And you might need psychedelics or something. You might need to do something extra in your expansion of your consciousness so that you can begin to understand what you really need to be doing right now, and how you need to be governing yourself, and how you need to be leveling yourself, because it's about fear and in the loss or the losing of the control over the culture, like a culture control, and it's wrapped up in this spiritual language. Unless we are willing to examine that, we will keep making a mistake and in a reaction for something like people calling out revivals. Don't go there. Let's bring this a little closer to home. Some people may be feeling deconstructing like death. It may feel like you're losing something that's part of the grief process, because belief is an attachment. Because as kids, we're we're bonded to caregivers. We're bonded to not just our family, but we're bonded to, especially it's been going on for years. You're bonded. I remember my childhood pastor. I remember what do you call them? Vacation Bible school pastors. But you're bound and bonded to caregivers, pastors. You're bonded to the community and the ones who told us what was true. And if belonging required you to sign an agreement, then questioning feels like exile. And exile is one of the worst things that happen to a person within the community when the communities were kind of surrounded, protected by walls and things. The thing is if they would exile you, you're basically going out unprotected to animals, and you had to find your own food and things of that nature. And that's the reason why deconstructing can feel so lonely and lost, and you can easily become an atheist because of the fact that there's so much buffoonery and craziness. And then the way they interpret God as who God is versus what God is, who God is versus what God is, you can end up saying, I don't believe anything to do with a person that's outside of me, and I don't even deal with a person that's inside of me. So we're just, biological matter that just don't matter. It could drive you into that based on the fact that we can get what I would consider uh, confused because of what we've been told. When you begin to ask questions about hell, if it's literal, or rather, if scripture is inherent, which has come out of the evangelical church, whether America is truly divinely chosen, you got to be crazy to think that. Some questions maybe rather your identity of being black or identity of being a particular person, if it's sinful, if it's wrong to actually think about your color or think about the experience of being in America, experiencing what has been uh put upon your life. You're not supposed to actually reverence your ethnicity and what you experience in life. It's just supposed to be Jesus. And if it's Jesus, right, that means it's the church. And if it's the church, that means it's the evangelical functions of the church. And it's doing what this particular group of people, whoever has the most people that are willing to bring you into that group and maybe actually give you a job and give you something and call it God. It's a whole system, y'all. It's a whole system. And that system is attached to us. And when you begin to question it, you're not just adjusting your theology. It's going to destabilize and mess with possibly your entire nervous system, because all these attachments and all these bonds is, most people don't realize it, but they're risking community. So what we have to do as we rebuild or reorganize, or we tap in, tune in, turn on, turn up, as we say in the conscious spaces, the quantum spaces, the biggest thing you're risking is you're risking community and who that community is and what that community is. That's why we're in the community building business. Makes people be panicked because a lot of families will fracture based on the fact that this is what we grew up with. And that's what, I have family, and I know my family can feel like a person talking like I do. They know I'm aligned. They know something is that is still of God within what I'm saying. Right. I think worst news, or news that would hurt them worse than coming out gay, is talking about if you Muslim, right? Or you're atheist, right? Oh. Oh no, man. I'm not I'm not leaving God. I'm just getting to know and who God is and what God is. Right. If your spirituality doesn't change your reality, it might be some form of vanity. So you might have checked yourself before you wreck yourself if you haven't wrecked yet. People are panicking. Families are fracturing. And some people are believing that they're losing their faith. But you don't have to necessarily go that deep. I'm sorry. I'm just letting you know it has more to do with certainty, and what they're playing with and what you're seeing in our country right now has a lot to do with certainty. When I was in the 80s, when I was growing up, they had the Cold War era in Russia, and they talked about us bombing outside of end times and seeing the sun and Jesus coming back. For some reason, they wanted to scare us with that versus being a good thing. I thought it was supposed to be a good thing, but why is it that you're always trying to scare me with end times, Jesus coming back for a church without spot or wrinkle, right? You better do right. Yeah, you're just trying to use something to get me to do something based on your own fears and your own uncertainty. Because losing certainty and losing your faith are not the same thing. It's not the same thing. Most of us did not consciously choose our belief. They were handed down. You know that. They were handed down before us, and we had critical thinking capacity, right? Because all that I'm talking about has a lot to do with critical thinking. So family handed it to us, church handed them to us, right? And culture then in return handed them to us. And then trauma handed them all to us. And what we've been living inside those inherited belief structures ever since. And so, yes, your body can be affected. And some people can really begin to fight like, I don't want to lose my Jesus. And you come here and talking crazy to me about that I'm still going to church and you don't think I should be going to church. You crazy if you're going to church. You should deconstruct. So now we get a lot of issues within the deconstruction communities because of the fact that some people are becoming atheists and some people don't want to leave it all. But if we're all in the same room, we have to learn how to kind of coexist, because it all comes back to a level of consciousness and understanding what we are experiencing in our life. The inherited belief structures are with us. And when what we believe just goes unexamined, all of a sudden it ruins life invisibly. And it could begin to shape how you vote, or they want to push how you should vote. It's going to shape how you should trust. It shapes how you even see your body. You know, there's people talking about sex and how they feel themselves sexually, how they feel themselves personally sexually, and how that can actually really mess with your psyche. It shapes how we can relate to money. You know, these things can shape how you feel about yourself and how you feel you deserve. Y'all, whenever I'm doing this, I'm exposing myself, because a lot of this stuff I vomit out and then create notes. And so you get to see, I'm open and I'm being real. So the hard question is to ask, does your belief system expand your humanity? Does your belief system, is it feeling like it's expanding who you are? Can you see the results of what you're becoming? Can you see something that is really like a light bulb? Or do you feel like something is shrinking it? Because to me personally, seem like people would see what's going on with that crazy ass Uncle Donald Trump and just be like, this is a little off. I don't quite like seeing the way people are treated. I don't like seeing the way you talk to people. It just doesn't feel right. But some people are getting immune to it, and they're beginning to accept it because of the system and how the system has played us. I'm here to tell you, if your theology makes you afraid of curiosity, any theology, if it makes you afraid of curiosity, it's really shrinking your mind and your cognitive ability to function. And that's the reason why you will have someone that can run your country and ruin your country. And I'm not talking about party. What we have today in the system is necessary because that system has brought in what this is today. Yeah, there's a lot of fears and everything else when Obama went in office, and the system did not like or wasn't used to or wasn't connected to having this person of this structure, this face and this tone, right, in this space, having that level of power. There's something deep down in the programming of people that can come from those eras and say, oh, this ain't right. I feel the grand wizard of my great grandfather or my grandfather or my father telling me that something is not right by having this man in office. But if your theology makes you afraid to be curious, and you're not allowed that, it's shrinking your mind. And if it makes you suspicious of people who are different, all of a sudden you're losing compassion, which seems like those scriptures were actually built on when it comes to the life of that man they called Yeshua. If your theology teaches you that your body is inherently shameful, if it shrinks your embodiment of who you are, if it tells you to doubt, or doubting is like rebellion, or if shrinking who you are for it to be bigger, you best believe it's affecting your growth. It's affecting your growth. Like it or not. Like what I have to say or not. But I'm going to tell you, like, there's a twist, and that a lot of people will miss this. Leaving religion doesn't automatically mean you have to awaken. Okay? Because to whatever, like, because deconstructing is just simply like relocating your certainty or what you feel may be certain, right? Leave the church and become dogmatic politically. You might trade one rigid ideology for another. I had that in a show with Tammy Faye's son. I forgot his name. That happens to me. I need to have him back on the show, who experienced PTL. He's experienced a lot of that, where people just leave the church and they become atheists, which is, if that's what you want to do. But the thing is why? Right? You trading one kind of rigid ideology for another, and all of a sudden you be the same person. It's got the same emotional structure, just different vocabulary. So if you do not examine how belief forms in the first place, what I'm talking about, if you don't examine how belief is in the first place, you might rebuild the same cage with just the same just a new language, and you're just doing the same thing. So that's the reason why we talk about deconstructing and the process of deconstructing. And there's not a lot of processes out there. There's a lot of communities you can join, and a lot of people are talking about these things. But true deconstructing is it's not about swapping teams. It's about understanding the mechanics of belief and building a thing called belief engineering. Um, and it ties into science too, like the biology of belief and how we are made up. A lot of things I'm working on also is tied to conscious evolution, right? There's been some people on this planet that has left us some things that can allow us to actually rebuild who we are and realize or understand that consciousness is something that we still don't quite understand, but we're understanding a lot about it and what it can do. But really, when you look at deconstructing, you don't necessarily swap teams. All you're doing is you're looking at the mechanics of belief. You're asking how the identity of who you are, can defend its idea. It asks how fear disguises itself as some level of conviction, because you used to go through that and they would be like, yeah, you feel that, the spirit, yep, that's just conviction. Your guilt and shame was always used as conviction. Anybody, hey, y'all, who in the chat, y'all remember that? Who remember guilt and shame as conviction? I remember that, where you would, that you start feeling convicted, you know what I mean, about whatever you have done, and really had nothing to do with God, had nothing to do with church. It had nothing to do with God. It had all to do with the way the church made you feel about a particular thing. So that guilt and that shame, they used to actually try to call that out to be God. And really, it's the system. It's really the system. And so understanding how belief works and deconstructing is really breaking down the mental capacity, the psychological captive, that's the psychology behind the consciousness. So you have the subconscious mind, and there's things that you may do within your behaviors that are related to that. And really, you're doing what we call shadow work in more of the people would call new age, right? Theocracy society, right? Alice Bailey, they talked about these things in the new age. It's not a religion, and it's not necessarily it is more of a philosophy, and it's more of a thinking. And the thing is when you deconstruct and you start doing shadow work, another word for shadow work could be subconscious behavioral checking. Let's just say that, right? You're doing the same thing over and over again, trying to get different results. As they say, that would be insanity. So you're looking for how to reconstruct and rebuild who you are to get better at being who you are, right? And beginning to know deeply who you are and what you're deeply connected to, because it can disguise that fear, and then can disguise itself as feeling like conviction. One thing I'll tell you, if it asks how a group belonging shapes your moral certainty, right, can affect you in a psychological way, because that's what it is. It's psychological work. It's also developmental work. So we're dealing with personal development also in this process. So as you deconstruct, realize and understand that you can actually begin to fix your finances. As you deconstruct, you can begin to actually understand you can actually get a better job, or decide to write that book. As you truly deconstruct and question your beliefs, you can begin to realize and understand that you might have a deeper purpose on this planet, which we all have some purpose. And when I say purpose, I'm thinking of the creative ability to be you and what brings you joy. And it may take your whole entire life to do that, but that's okay. All this is what I call consciousness work. That's why we labeled this expanded consciousness, because if we go to me, the ground floor is dealing with the foundation, and deconstructing is dealing with the foundation, but all of this is expanding your consciousness. And the whole universe is expanding its consciousness on itself right now. You don't have AI just because these guys created it. You have AI because consciousness is expanding and has expanded in the quantum realm, right? That's a whole nother talk or a whole nother conversation, right? Hold up. Got my thing over here going live to practice on my TikTok. But this is this consciousness work. And I'm here to tell you that many people can feel lost. You know, it's like I'm feeling this and I'm understanding this, and I'm trying to work on myself to help fill these gaps. And that is, if I deconstruct, where do I belong? Because the church was not just the doctrine. And this is where I was talking about, if you come from COGIC, Church of God in Christ, if you come from the Black church, and evangelical was in there too, but we understand there was music and there was rhythm. Without the music and without the rhythm, the church wouldn't be what we call the church today, wouldn't be the church. It was those shared meals when we start smelling in the Black church. They would be down there cooking that fried chicken or cooking them burgers. You know, you had some food going down there in the basement or going down there in the, it was always, sanctuary was always had this uncommercial kitchen. It was just a kitchen. They would be in there deep frying that fried chicken in the back of that church, boy. And you'd be like, man, I'm so ready to get out this church, boy. They would have that fried chicken. Them ladies would have that old cast iron skillet, you know what I mean? 3-inch deep cast iron skillet with that chicken frying in it, bro. They would serve that shit with some white bread. Man, you barely had sides. You had some mashed potatoes, maybe some tater salad or corn or something. They would have some pies out on the plates and have some cakes out on the plates. Man, you would smell that chicken. We'd be in church all day, or sometime that night service, and they'd be selling dinners. We got to get ready to get it back on the church bus. I remember we had a broke down church bus. We got a school bus. We thought we was doing it. You hear me? We weren't really. But we had that yellow school bus. They pack us on there for purity or whatever else we were doing. But we would go to other churches to visit. My dad would drive that bus. Had that thing a bucket and had that fried chicken. See, I'm telling you, it was a ritual. Y'all have those rituals. That was a place where you can just, where it was a place where even the grief had a language. You know what I'm saying? You didn't just walk away from that without feeling like you were untethered, right? You was tethered to that. See, one of the things we understand is we're not wired for isolation. We're wired for connection. And so the answer is not abandoning community. The answer is, how do we mature it? How do we come home and take some of those things and bring it back to, or really connect to these things, right? The computer and technology has already been through these paces, and then we went through COVID, and then it required us to deeply connect through the technology. And now we're yearning for community in a very unconditional, loving way. Because at this time, though, we don't need to build community on fear. We don't need to build it on hell. We don't need to build it. Definitely, they cause enough anxiety about our culture and our culture's dominance. Want to kill as much as they can of certain cultures, because those cultures have influenced the world specifically America. Black culture has influenced more of the world than we can imagine. And the system and the institution realizes that other people realize that, or other people see it. It got too many of y'all white people liking these black people too much, and now y'all doing too much. I've been married to a white person for almost 26 years this year, together 27, 28 years. Back when we were kids, you hear me? We were kids coming out of Kansas. Brown versus Board of Education. I grew up all my life with integration. All my life with integration. We were all kind of in the dungeons and in the streets together. A little different. We need community, but these communities need to have depth. We need spaces where questions are not treated like rebellion and things like science and spirituality and interspirituality. Like I'm really digging is we can have these deconstructing, we can have these conversations, and I could be my mystical self, and where mysticism is not something that we can just use and try to weaponize against people. That's what they were talking about, burning witches at the stake. When politics start to be idolized, boy, using that to police things like identity. That's why I'm going to bring up that term again. That interspirituality is a level of maturity where we understand that we are spiritual beings. In these bodies, one thing we know, and I think spiritual beings is more of the consciousness that carries on. Some people say, how do you know? Some things you just deeply know in your heart, especially when it comes to love. That's one of the things that is like when you say an John Thomas, absolute love is different than unconditional love, because unconditional would still have some levels of conditions. We can't understand or fathom the level of love that that creation itself has for us. When you think, you don't have to think singular of creator, you can think of creation. If you believe, or a person wants to talk about God and God creating a tree, that is creation, right? And the creation itself is it's pure, it's just pure divine love. It's pure love. Interspirituality is maturity. If you get a chance, Google, everybody. When I'm done with this, I want everyone to Google inner, INTER, spiritual, inner spirituality. See, this is a space where you can learn to honor Christ if you so choose, and it doesn't have to do with the empire itself. But you can also embrace from where Buddhism is about the self and the suffering and the various things without abandoning your roots. You don't have to worry about what a person may think, and just because of the fact that you're tasting the sweet potatoes because they don't like sweet potatoes, but you want to see what those sweet potatoes, because you might like something on the plate. I promise you can like something on all plates of belief systems. And there's some things that you can actually not like on all plates of belief systems. We could learn to respect things like neuroscience, because science can have its own dogma. But we can learn to respect it without losing reverence for any of the mystery behind it. Sometimes science can be that way, where it's like, oh, it's not proven. So interspirituality is something that's about integration, and a lot of times practical spirituality. I talk about integrating. How do we integrate into the adulthood? How do we become mature in understanding that we don't have full control over everything? See, our fragmentation that we have within Christianity doesn't have to be failure. A lot of this is just exposure. It's just exposing some things. It's exposing how interpretation works. It's exposing. There's a lot in our country that the average person, unless you was a theologian, a deep theologian, and you didn't go to a specific school, a lot of us did not understand or know anything to do with the variations of the Bible and the biblical text. I mean, when did you ever really truly think about Western Christianity as a specific sector within the denominations of Christianity? When did we ever truly considered Western Christianity as a thing? As like, wait a minute, Western Christianity? This is really different, right? When did you ever, just begin to question the story of Moses? This questioning the earth flooded with water, questioning like, what these metaphorical things, you know what I mean? I was like, man, all the miracles that God did are not basic miracles. A basic miracle, water into wine. Yeah, but creating a boat and putting all the animals from the earth on the boat, they didn't eat themselves. I don't know what they fed them. I guess God fed them the whole time. And then they got off the boat, and then they went out and they procreated the whole eco animal system, and then they decided to eat each other. And then I guess all human beings came from Ham, Shem, and Japheth. I mean, it really is difficult for me, folks. I'm sorry for those who are just fully, you just got to have faith and you just got to believe. I mean, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. But all that stuff is just not written for you to be like, yeah, it's true. Because there's a whole bunch of other stuff in there that you don't accept, that you will be like, well, Pastor Billy or Pastor Bob or Pastor whomever hasn't made that clear, and then he hasn't got it from Bishop to make it clear. He hasn't, you know what I mean? So therefore, we don't believe anything new, or we won't change what we believe until Bishop or until somebody tells us. And then they still might struggle if they have had that beat into them for a long time, because you can have that stuff beat into you for so long that all of a sudden your nervous system and your body and everything else will start making you feel off when you start hearing some of the things where you like, I think more people have a problem with the nervous system whenever you start talking about no hell, because most people that believe deeply in hell, have two things. One, it is a fear that I have or I want, because that keeps me grounded and keeps me safe, that I'm going to be safe because I'm afraid of death. And two, they want to put somebody in there, or somebody deserves to be in there, right? Hitler or Jeffrey Dahmer or whomever, their enemy, the killer of some kids, like all those people that have done wrong. They want their body. They don't need their soul to suffer. They don't need their spirit or essence to suffer. The spirit is the spirit would be pure love. The body is the one that has the dark attachments, right? Connected to who they are. They want to hurt or harm, or they think that the body that needs to be, that's the part that needs to suffer, right? You get an easy way out. You can cause a lot of pain to the world. And the easy way out is you just get to die and not have to suffer. We need for you to suffer, bro. You done too much bad in the earth. So we gotta you gotta suffer somehow. We need for you to suffer. I guess y'all heard me the whole time because my thing ain't working right. As I end this, I want you to know that there's no failure in the fragmentation of it and seeing all this for what it is. It's just exposure. Everybody has their version and what their version is. And the biggest problem that you can have with anybody's version is if their version is right and everybody else's version is wrong, there might be a problem. If their version can cause harm to other people, if it causes harm to other people, that might be not so good. Why are you causing harm to people? What you got to do is awaken to yourself and understand that everyone needs to deconstruct because of the inherited beliefs is an unconscious belief. But no one needs to deconstruct into loneliness. The future will belong to communities that will allow the evolution. And these communities will understand that doubt is not the enemy of faith, but a refinement of it all. And these communities that value consciousness over controlling everyone are aligned with the evolution of the human essence and the human spirit. Maybe this moment in history is not about the collapse of spirituality or even Christianity, but maybe it's just about the maturity and the evolution. It's had evolutions, what we believed. Maybe we are just being invited to move from a rigid certainty into some level of grounded awareness of who we are and what we are. From the external authority that's out there to the inner authorities and responsibilities. Not defending doctrine, but understanding how we can embody love. Understand this, that deconstructing, my inner bishop coming in, deconstructing is not destruction. It's just an excavation. It's the willingness to dig deep beneath inherited structures and ask what the truth is, what fear is, and what power is, and what love is. What will you build after you excavate this old person and you update the framework of who you are with this new software that tells you that you are a powerful being by yourself and that the spirit and the essence of the creation of life is within you, and you're more powerful than you ever thought you ever have been as you align and tune in and turn on to the essence of all through love. This is expanded consciousness. We still need each other. And we need to awaken each other. One thing that I know for a fact is that meditation is when you allow the thoughts to come into your mind and you allow yourself to sit still and allow these things to flow, and you begin to work on your subconscious mind and let those thoughts go and practice loving yourself and allowing the thoughts and the thinking. You have 30,000 thoughts a day, and all those thoughts need to cease at times. Get off your phone, get off of Netflix, get off of YouTube, get off of everything, and make sure you spend time with yourself. I'm on an Insight Timer at 7:30 p.m. Central Time. I will be live on Insight Timer on Sundays, bringing words usually related deeply more to the meditation practice, but also integrating some of this. I believe I will talk more on this topic on Insight Timer. And I'm here to tell you, I appreciate and thank for everyone that's tapped in and tuned in, whether you're tuned in now or on the replay. It's really encouraging as you see you guys come here and tune in. And just know that we need each other more than ever. I am not against what people believe unless it's creating harm to others. If it's the agenda for the self, sometimes people can have an agenda that is all about themselves. And that's not what we need. If you're here and you can hear me, I want you to take a deep breath through your nose. Be at one with yourself. Don't leave right now. This is the time that you really need to be here. Be here now. Be here now. Be here now. Be here now. Yeah. You're just in your house or in your space, in your apartment, wherever you are. But your higher self is with you. And I know more than ever, we have to shift the way we think in order to shift who we are. Because there's something greater on the other side. As Bishop Carlton Pearson would say, the best is yet to come. And I'm here to tell you the best is here now. We just have to begin to shift and bring that reality true. I love you, Brother Garrick. Brother Garrick used to be one of those kids. When I was talking about how I grew up diverse, 12, 14 Ward. Garrick lived on Ward. I remember people used to try to bully Garrick, and I would just play with Garrick. Garrick would be in his own world. He would stand in the middle of the street, and he would just spin and spin and spin. Remember that, Garrick? I just loved you for who you were. We were just kids. Elementary school. I appreciate you, brother. A lot of times people will say God loves you. And I'm here to tell you that you are an element of who God is. Sometimes it's hard for people to say that God loves you whenever they don't love themselves. Learning to love yourself is a process. Learn to love yourself. Deep breaths. And hold it. And release. Yes. We're releasing doubt, releasing pain, releasing everything that is not us. Thank you. And I want you to thank you. I want you to thank you for this moment in this time that you're giving yourself, for being here. Because this is not about me. This is about us. This is about we. Transformation. Becoming all of who we are. Learning and developing practices that can help us deconstruct to reconstruct. Reconstruct who you are. Do it today. I thought it was in here. March 27th through the 29th. Some people are coming in early on March 26th. I'm having a retreat that is on a sacred ground that I promise you, you don't want to miss it. I have something that's so special and so special. And the people that you're going to meet there. And you're going to be able to meet yourself. The deconstructing process is going to be learning, but then we're going to be exercising the gifts, and we're going to be exercising restoration. We're going to be giving you some things to restore, some methods, and I got some tools. I got a thing that will reset your vagus nerve and show you how to reset your vagus nerve, and sound baths and sound healing. There's going to be some Reiki, some words of wisdom, some insight. I want people to leave. Someone told me they may not be able to make it to the spring retreat, and he said, well, I'm gonna make sure I make it to the fall retreat, and I ain't even planning one. And I was like, well, you know what? We're gonna have a spring and fall. I'm gonna do it. We're gonna have a spring and fall. I'm gonna do it. It's not easy working your mind and who you are and all that, right? But we push through. Leaving doubt. If there's anyone, I've never done this, but I just feel it in my spirit. And if there's anyone that is feeling some kind of way, lonely, lost, disconnected, going through the deconstructing processes and things are just doesn't seem like they're lining up, reach out to somebody within the community. It's okay. Reach out to somebody you trust, somebody you know. Ordering flags to be flown half staff for Charlie Kirk, but not Jesse Jackson, says it loud and clear. Yep. He was right there with Martin Luther King. Held him when he got shot. We understand that. We know that. That was just something that came across there as I was coming back to look for something here. If anybody is out there feeling some kind of way, reach out. Make sure you guys tap in and tune in to my Facebook. I'm sorry, my Insight Timer that is going to be live on this coming Sunday at 7:30. You got to download Insight Timer. There was another announcement. Oh, that's what I want you to know. I know you're part of different Facebook groups that I may have, different people, and I figured out that Facebook likes to show, if you start a group, Facebook will automatically send everybody a notification to that group. And some of my groups are not for everybody. And I've got some that are local that I'm trying to work with locally in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And then I got Expanded Consciousness, which is a little different. I'm kind of working on that. But this latest group is going to be something that I know that deals a lot with what we are dealing with today, and especially with the community from Bishop Carlton Pearson, and that's deconstructing. And this is called, was focused on a little bit of, I thought it was neat with Church of God in Christ, which I grew up with, but there's just a small sector of people for that. And this is Life After Church, a deconstructing community. And it's not just, it's Life After Church. I want it to be where we're all communicating, we're all looking to help each other grow, and not necessarily just looking to pinpoint, about deconstructing. Is really about, after this, then what? Oh, I'm meditating. Oh, I'm doing this. Oh, I'm doing that. Oh, we're doing this at our church, right? So if you want that, that's an open, free community, not necessarily fully attached to me. It is attached to me, but it's something that I just want for communication. But then I can actually really get into the differences too. We can do ex-Church of God in Christ, ex-evangelicals, ex-Mormons, and you can just put, hey, this is what I experienced. This is what I experienced. This is what I'm doing now. Really, it's about growth. It's about growth. And so you'll find that Life After Church. You follow me, most likely you'll find it. And I appreciate everyone. That's my Cash App, everything. This is what I pretty much do full time. And working on some other things between coaching and marketing, but this is my life, right? So all the donations and all the support and things that I do is it is encouraging to keep going, to be honest. I know I'm working and doing something that is different. I'm working and doing something, and figuring it out as I go, without it being so pushy. I know there's different things that you can do online, selling different things, and I'm in a zone and in a space that I just want to. I want to be tuned into spirit. I want to be tuned into a point where things begin to unfold. And it is working. It is unfolding. It's a process. I want you to know it's a process. Everybody say it's a process. And that's what they say. Keep the process, maintain the process. It's a process. What you're experiencing, going through, is a process. You might do something, you might say something, you might revisit something. Don't hold yourself, don't take yourself too serious unless you're really messing up, knowing you can do better. Everybody feeling good? Much love. Grace and peace be with you. Until next week, or you visit me on Inside Timer. I can stay here forever with y'all. I love y'all. Feeling great. Yes, Mother. That's Mother Gwen. That's her book on there. If you ever want to get everybody follow Mother Gwen and support her picking up her book. Miss Tia. Thank you, Tia. Miss Dolores. Yeah, I remember that. When the church thought he lost his mind. I remember that. He was in the newspapers, on TV, on the news, regular news. He said, we're here to grow. I just feel it. I just feel it. Just going to do it. Thank you. And Miss Marie, I see you. We see you, Miss Marie. And Brother Garrick, I see you too. Yep. Brother Donald Clapp. Yeah, he talking about he left. We have a thank you. Ever Black. It may be petty, but it brings me so much joy to see other people escape the twisted death cult. Life is filling with so much more love, beauty, and wonder. Without watchful eyes on the iron fist of God. My heart goes out to you, brother. You keep on keeping on, as Bishop would say. Because most likely it's the iron fist of that God or whoever that God is. That God is that the system talk about is crazy. They can keep it for themselves. We had I remember there was some other, any guests and people, thank you so much for coming in, stopping by. I know that Carl and some people from Christianity, what is it called? Deconstructing Christianity community on Facebook. Don Jackson, Church of God in Christ, non-denom. We had, yep. There was some ex-non-denom. I know non-denom was a lot. John Thomas said he was just yeah, he grew up Church of Christ. Yeah. So much more to go, so much more to continue doing this work. Thank you so much. I love y'all. I look forward to seeing you next week. Please come back next week. And we'll see you. Thank you.
I was raised in the echoes of sermons and signs, told who I was, what to believe, how to walk the line. Kneeled at the altar, searching for grace, but all I I found was fear wrapped up in faith. But something deep inside kept calling me. A whisper in the dark said you are free. Not in the rules, not in the chains, but in the love that calls my name. Learning to love myself, trust myself, even when I think I'm wrong. Learning to be set free, learning to be, learning just to be. No longer bound by the weight of my past. Took off the guilt, let it burn in the ash. I don't need permission to stand in the light. God ain't a place, God is inside. God is inside. Something deep inside keeps calling me. A whisper in the dark says you are free. Not in the rules, not in the chains, but in the love that knows my name. Learning to love myself, trust myself, even when I think I'm wrong. Learning to be set free, learning to be, learning just to be. Deep inside keeps calling me. A whisper in the dark says you are free. Not in the rules, not in the chains, but in the love that knows my name. Learning to love myself, trust myself, even when I think I'm wrong. Learning to be set free, learning to be. Learning to love myself, trust myself, even when I think I'm wrong. Learning to be set free, learning to be, learning just to be.